Hi, and welcome to the June first virtual poetry reading, where our two features today will be Erica Reid and Dick Westminster. Always a treat, and it's my first time hearing Erica's work. I'm really looking forward to it. So let's get started. Uh, Here, I'll introduce Erica Reid, our first reader. Erica is the author of Ghost Man on Second, winner of the Donald Justice Poetry Prize, Autumn House Press 2024. Erica's poems appear in Rattle, Cherry Tree, Colorado Review, and more, and she is the recipient of a 2026 Pushcart Prize. Take it away, Erica.
Thank you so much, Robbi. And I do just want to comment that, I'm here because of Dick Westheimer, actually, who is a longtime friend of mine. It's always really particularly a joy to read with your friends. And Dick is a friend of mine, an influence of mine, and I'm just really happy to be in the same room with him. And I hope some of our poems intersect. But that's another, I think, joy of readings like these are trying to discover where the intersections end up with poems that have never spoken to one another before. Often they have little moments of intersection that create something new in both. And so, like, I love these opportunities to have poems in conversation with one another, even if they weren't planned as such. So that's one thing I'm really looking forward to in the reading today. I'd like to start. I'm reading all from new work. That's just what's interesting me right now. Um, and a lot of what I'm writing recently is about my grandmother. I just lost my grandmother, Hazel, in February. And this is a woman who half raised me. My mother was 16 when I was born, so I grew up a lot in my grandmother's house. And I've been close to her ever since. And I think that even in the past couple of years, we got to build a new adult to adult relationship that ended up being very valuable to me. And the loss of that relationship has obviously, been finding its way into my work in ways that kind of surprises me even sometimes. I think that's the best thing for me about writing is using it to discover what you are thinking. Sometimes you don't even know what's in your heart or in your head until you put it to the page. And so it's given me, instead of a place to like lament, it has given me a place to explore all the convolutions of grief and all the memories of a relationship that has lasted, for me, 43 years. So the first couple of poems I'm going to read are about my grandmother, but I'm okay. Just when we get into sort of poems about grief, I just want you to know that it is a joy to me to get to share thoughts about my grandmother and not have it just be this private thing I have to carry. So I'm going to start with a poem called Hazel Won't Haunt Me. Um, it's sort of about this idea that I never wished for a ghost until my grandmother passed. And then I wish I could have been visited by her one more time. That's just not in her nature. She would never want to bother anybody. So I can't imagine her making an appearance. And the loss of that opportunity is sort of what drove this poem. Hazel won't haunt me. She was done, complete. Her burlap bows tied up neat. Her husband gone years ahead, waiting wherever those two might meet, some rough Kentucky cabin or Buckeye-lined street. And I want that for her, only not quite so fast. I might have asked her quiet spirit to linger, to wander past my window on a February night and finger tap a rhythm only she and I would know, or whisper Papple's tune a hair too slow. Then she could go. This next poem is a great example of a poem that surprised me. It's not directly about Hazel, but it is about the way that our entire world changes when we lose somebody formative to us. So the illusions in this poem are not really about my grandmother, but still the color of the grief still feels correct to me. It's called Where Can I Find the Stars That Rounded Out the Hem of the Gown the she-wolf wore, each distant light a gem, who every night you swore was strumming her guitar. And no one seems to know which constellation holds the story of the snake who retched 1,000 voles to soothe her stomach ache. How did your ending go? Without you, my night skies reduced to kings and swans. No haunted samovars, no manatees or prawns knitting sailboats out of stars, no poisoned shepherd's pie. So why should I look up? The black grows flat and blurs. The world prefers the tales that they've already heard, their bears and holy grails. You turned that garish cup into Queen Cockatoo, but I can't find her form. I've lost the devil's hurtin' and larkspur in a storm. The dark is just a curtain. The best light died with you. And this third poem in I mean, these aren't exactly linked except by theme. It starts with a line borrowed from Anne Sexton. It was the poems are dissimilar, but my title I took from her. I am happy today with the sheets of life and their wet pleats. Erica, stop your roaring. Life is no more than the cornflower sheets that burped behind your grandmother's house, twisting in their suburban samba. One side of the clothesline, your grandfather's garage with his key blanks and a cranked vise. The other side, an oak stump where you were told not to climb and did. There is nowhere you were more a kid. Now you go and spoil it, muling for damp linens, a plastic basket, a bucket of wooden pins. That was then. If you watch, you'll see her carry it all back in. I mentioned that my relationship with my grandmother got sort of stronger toward the end. We had a rough patch in the middle, because I am not in relationship with my mother right now, her daughter. And that is sort of, if you read Ghost Man on Second, a lot of those poems explore my relationship with my mother and the struggles that we went through. And as you can imagine, that struggle I have with my mother caused complications with or yes, with her mother, my grandmother. And that's why being able to build something new just with my grandmother ended up becoming really moving to me that we were able to do so. This poem is more about my mother and the way that, I don't know, I'll let you decide. You never have to write a poem. I will not force you. You may rest, of course, of course. What little you had to say evaporates like spring rain anyway. One moment pregnant with blue, then the sky forgets all it knew. Earlier today, your mother crossed a new line. And as long as you don't write it, it will be fine. She's a handful of states away, though her arm seems long. Her candied nails rapping at your bedroom window with a simple song. Each line you write cracks that window by a hair, even from here. And the air that slips through the jam smells of apple chips and store-bought vinaigrette. So no, you do not have to write that yet. I think a lot of my work probably related to these themes that I don't know if you guys get to choose your themes. I have not. I know, mostly do not get to choose my themes. They choose me. Um, but a lot of what I'm writing lately has been sort of about a reemergence, about coming out of some of this grief and heartache and trying to figure out who I am now. And I think this next poem is a pretty good indicator of that kind of theme. It is called Self-Portrait with Appetite. After a brown rice winter, I eat roses with a paring knife, skinning slices against my thumb. I refuse to grow numb again, not with irises writhing on a hook and peonies steaming in a wire basket. My kitchen simmers, recipes sweating and peeling on the fridge. I have been dead, or nearly, pockets rummaged, trinkets clearly missing. The world took all it could while I went unfed, subsisting on weak tea and green-tinged bread, tongue in a torpor over every throbbing ache I never sated. As I slept, it grew late, later, sun squatting like a tulip bulb. I want what I want. It isn't winter anymore. My teeth gleam red as the roses whose skeletons litter the floor. I think this one sort of matches that vibe of just wanting to, um, I don't know, carve out a space for oneself. Even though right now it's like 80, 90 degrees outside, I still tend to write winter poems. When I'm in winter, I'm celebrating winter. When I'm not in winter, I'm begging for winter to come back. I'm a cold weather girl. And this is called hibernacle, which is a word I discovered. It's just like a tabernacle, just a room for winter, a winter room. Hibernacle. I am rolling the stone door on my hibernacle to be closed until the crocus. I have spoken my allotment for the year, my final word a grunted thanks to the women who fill my paraffin tanks. There is room for two and bread enough, but alone will do. My silence steaming up this room with amber embers. I am ready for the season no one asks me to remember, each day passing without hoof prints in the snow. The calculating, then the letting go. All my life I've carried winter behind my eyes. I wink an iris limbed with ice. The bear that used this den before me knew how to hack her body's metronome. When time knocks on this door, it will not find me home. And I think I'll read one more. Robbi, is that okay before I hand it over to Dick? Excellent. Um, these poems kind of tend toward the witchy, I think, is something I've been really like really enjoying the way that witchy themes have been finding their way into my work as I find my own kind of personhood. And this is just a fun, loose sonnet called Illegal in This Town. Illegal in this town. Passing cemeteries without bowing, failing to maintain the lighthouse beacon, thinking twice, take backsies, disavowing, letting Meyer lemons rot uneaten, making rude proposals to the bog, bothering the moon without sound reasons, flouting the authority of fog, questioning the shifting of the seasons, claiming an unraucous style of laughter, skipping over Sekhmet in a prayer, barring owls from nesting in your rafters, looking at the mayor, I'm the mayor, fearing all you do not have a name for, and leaving without getting what you came for. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Erica. And let me introduce Dick. Dick Westheimer lives in rural Southwest Ohio with his wife and writing companion, Debbie. He's the winner of the 2023 Joy Harjo Poetry Prize, Harjo Poetry Prize, the 2026 Third Wednesday Poetry Prize, the 2026 Poets in Defense of Science Poetry Prize. I'm having trouble keeping up with your poetry prizes, Dick. The 2026 Poetry Box Chapbook Prize, and a Rattle Poetry Prize finalist. It's feast or famine, isn't it? His poems have appeared in Only Poems, Railroad Review, Rattle, and One Art. He hosts monthly Rattle Prompt Lines community reading and appears regularly on the Poetry Space podcast. Sales of his chapbook, The Sword in Both Hands, poems responding to Russia's war in Ukraine, published by Sheila Nike, raised over $2,000 for the Ukraine Trust Chain. Hard to pronounce that. Okay, take it away, Dick.
Um, Thank you so much, Robbie. And first, Robbie, I appreciate so much all of the spaces you curate with readers and listeners and open mics. And Erica, I could listen to your poems, just the music of them. My friend Dick Haig calls poetry language listening to itself, and I can hear your poems listening to themselves as they unfold under your pen or however they come. So yeah. So I'm going to read. I think I have 8 poems, two each in each of my current obsessions, or I should say my continuously rotating obsessions. And the first, I'm in a poetry group with some Israeli and Palestinian poets, and we write to each other at least one poem every 3 weeks. And this is my latest about a shooting in the West Bank um, that prompted it. Um, it's called, and it's an obad, which I didn't know what it was. I heard somebody reading an obad, and I thought, obad, obad. I love the sound of that. And then I read what it was, and I thought, this is the poem I need to write. And it's a poem about waking in the morning, basically with your love and the day opening up. That's the sort of traditional one. Obad for the rest of her days. And the epigraph is from the father in this story. It's not easy to hold your son in the morning, his warm body, and then in the evening you hold him with a cold body. The truth travels by way of a bullet through the glass of a stationary car, through the hand of a man, through a baby, Sam, wrapped in his mother's arms and into the flesh of the mother's face. Under anesthesia, the mother dreams of morning, of waking in the rising light, of wearing her husband like a loose garment, his strong arm softly draped, his palm cupping the planet of her breast. Sam stirs and nuzzles his Baba's hand. The mama's milk lets down, and from her flows the day, liquid, smelling of sugar and sweat and sex. She wakes in the recovery room, afraid and drugged. Her face is home to metal and pain, and all that's left of her baby are her breasts, hot with milk, hard as stones. Day erupts and yanks the knotted cord of her, taut as a tourniquet that's caught in her throat. She breaks open like a pomegranate that's filled with dust. And this next one is actually in the chapbook that's coming out next February, which is the name of the chapbook is Eve Corrects the Record. And this poem was written in memory of, this was another West Bank poem of, there was a Turkish American activist, Sir E.G., who was shot mistakenly by the IDF. She scales the tree and from the top can see stars brighter than the god and a hint of the deep green sea. On the horizon, smoke rises from behind the olive groves. She climbs down, and while the atom sleeps, which he often does, she goes out through the garden gates. No one outside notes her nakedness, how her bare feet do not touch the ground. She walks among the cemeteries and their fresh mounds, their stones piled with stones, and sees the air etched with screams left behind by the missing and the aches for their drawn faces of those who remain. She passes towns and fields of barley and beans and proceeds down palm-lined roads until she comes to a fence as high as Eden's trees. It is scabbed and scarred with skin and barbed with thorns and strung with limbs. She climbs from the top and sees no stars, no sky, no horizon or sun rising, only thousands of eyes, weeping sand and shattered bones. She descends the fence and walks among the throng, each of their number eating gravel ground from ancient rocks. Beneath the land, she sees people hunched in caves, clutching scrolls, singing praises and pop songs and crying laments. In front of her streams a nation of kith and kin, carrying nothing but urns filled with ashes of holy books, incinerated remains of Jitas and cities and swaddled babes. Besides the dispossessed stand sentries with guns that writhe like snakes. Each shouts in a voice that sounds like Eden's God. They order people to leave, to stay, to head east, then west, then to the sea. Bombs and bullets fall from the clouds and turn nameless people into dust. She searches for their names and finds in a box and returns what she can to the dead. And the following names are names of both Israelis and Palestinian Gazan children under the age of 1 who had died at that point in the war. Abel, Rahim, Karim, Adam, Alma, Celine, Elenia, Fatma, Yasser, Hirsch, Eden, Carmel, Ori, Almag, Malak, Miriam, Muhammad, Nur, Salma, Sarah, Tariq, Talha, Yusuf, Talin, the son of Anwar, the son of Dina, the son of Ramah, the daughter of Zainab. To the living, Eve vows she will let loose Eden, tear down its walls, and shake the apples from the trees till the one that contains peace is found. She will tell her sons before it's too late that a God who favors one is not to be trusted, that all the people who empty their pockets of lies and truths are the chosen ones. She garbs herself in 1,000 funeral shrouds, climbs the fence for the first time, feels pain, heads for home on bleeding feet, arrives at the garden gates and finds them chained and locked, and through the bars sees Adam in uniform, one hand fondling his cock, the other on the trigger of a gun aimed at her head. Um, let me go to a much more joyous. And I'm just going to read one garden poem because that one was so long. Uh, we have gardens here. We love our gardens. And this summer marks the 50th anniversary of me gardening this land outside my home. Old Man's Garden Shed Muse. Today is Zinnia Day. The seeds, tiny dragon's wings, folded into a C. I pinch 3 between my thumb and smudged forefinger, rub them into soil packed into 2-inch pots, and see summer blooms. Extravagant as a teen, reading Sonnet 18 to the captain of the cheerleading team, erupting in our garden. This will be the year I deadhead everyone, water and feed them all summer long until the sign of first frost. I bring a dozen long stem blossoms inside, get down on one knee and say to my love, so long as I can breathe, you will remain more lovely than these. Um, and Erica sent me some of her poems last night, and one of them, the one about the stars, it just got me thinking that I should bring a couple of star ones to here, just in conversation, not rebuttal, of course, but conversation. And the title is after a line in Denise Levertov's poem making piece, How to Oust the Familiar Imagination of Disaster. Cosmologists can't be sure when kindness first emerged into the universe, but recent observations speculate it came from a runaway black hole that absorbed all the hate in its path and trailed behind it a light years long trail of dust that triggered the formation of stars that were all made of goodwill. Some say kindness defies Einstein's equation and travels faster than the speed of light, that a good word spoken to a stranger ricochets instantly through all creation. Last night at an open mic, I told the ladies in a roots band that when they harmonized on The Water is Wide, they reminded me of Dolly and Emmylou singing The Sweetest Gift. A man I'd never met told me the poem I read about phoning an alcoholic friend made him cry. As we left the event, the woman I sat by with the chronic cough held the elevator for me. I walked with her and her partner to their car and turned and saw the night sky cloudless, a thumbnail moon setting in the west, and an entire galaxy lighting my way. Um, this is another space obsession poem. I am just hopelessly obsessed. And it is a grandma poem, but so uh drug out of the drug out of the past just in response to the grandma poems. It's called Voyager. And just think for a moment, 1977, when the Voyager space probes took off, and who could have known then that they would head out to the space between the stars? Voyager. The year my grandma Duffy died, she called on the phone, spoke as clear as those French horns in the Kinder concerts she took me to, said she missed me. She thought I was my dad. I'd not heard her speak in 5 years. She was dug into the mud pit of dementia. She asked how Dickie, who was me, was doing, and I told her he, who was me, was obsessing about a space probe to be launched soon. Voyager, I said. I knew its route out past the gas giant planets, and then into the space between the stars. But all I heard from her was static, her signal fading as the call went on. She mumbled some and then dropped the phone. I noted the muffled sound of my grandpa crying. I'd not heard that before. I've traveled far since then and think a lot about my memory failing. My kids are kind mostly when I repeat a story for the 10th or 100th time, and if I fail to phone, they text me or send a cute video, call me a spaceman when I talk to them about poetry, or when they FaceTime and find me unshaved and in my pajamas at 2 in the afternoon. They wish I'd come see them, but I am beyond in the interstellar medium, a voyager in my own mind, sending confusing signals back to my kin. I love you, I say, but they know. Not so much that I'd pack my toiletries and pencils and socks and abandon my garden and my own unmade bed and drive away from here. I'm not like Grandma Duffy, I say to myself. I'll never drop my phone. And finally, almost finally, because Erica, remember you are reading a poem after I'm done, right?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I have a space poem that I think will when you're finished.
Okay. This is the title poem from my chapbook, which the poems were written, about half of them were written in workshops with Alicia Ostreicher, who is a engages in a practice called midrash, which is basically it's taking stories from the Hebrew Bible and mostly from the first five books and reinterpreting them with those characters perhaps taking on a greater form, as it were. So the chap is called Eve Corrects the Record, and the poem is this is the title poem. I first knew I was naked, not from eating the apple, but from climbing the tree the God forbade me. My hair snagged, I bruised my hip, abraded a breast, and my left knee ached after I scraped it on the bark. The fruit I wanted was on the highest limb. It was not the largest or reddest, and was blemished and half eaten by worms and birds, but it had seen what was above, and I wanted the same. I know now this is what the god had forbidden. He was afraid I'd find out. We are not alone. There are so many lights out there, as bright as he is. So thank you all. What a pleasure to read with Erica on the screen next to me and Robbi on the other, and all of you down below with your great comments. I appreciate it.
And Dick had offered for me to close up with one final poem, if you don't mind, Robbi. I have a space poem that I think Dick and other space program fanatics might enjoy. But it's about the Artemis 2 landing that happened in April, which is right around my nephew's birthday. This is called Integrity, April 10th, 2026. 6-ish years old, my nephew's head is in outer space. Cosmonauts, demotion of Pluto, the Kuiper Belt. I send picture books about black-footed ferrets, this planet being more than I can handle already, my chin tucked as I scan the ground, clocking peril all around. On his 6th birthday eve, I clench as the crew of the Artemis 2 teabags the Pacific, a textbook splashdown, Navy divers inflating a pricey front porch. Of course, I am alone in struggling to make a home. Welcome back, a toast to the lunar arc, a moon-shaped cake. I mail my nephew a poster. It makes fake stars in the dark.
Mm.
So are you going to read a last one, Dick?
You're on mute, Dick. We'll just go back and forth
No,
all
you know, we
day.
could go back and forth for the rest of the hour, but no, this was since Erica went first, I wanted everyone to have a taste of her poem in their mouth
Oh,
as we went forward.
okay.
Thank you, Dick.
Well, thank you. That was a wonderful pairing and a wonderful set of poems by each of you. And we will move on to the open, which has shaped up to be about its normal length. Our first person on the open is Gary Rosin.
Are we still going to do two or just one now?
Two.
Okay, two.
Short.
Two short ones.
Yeah, like 5 minutes or less.
Oh, easily. Before we moved out to California, we were living in a townhouse, which meant that like we had a fence right behind our living room, and you could hear houses across the way. And this happened across the fence. Two voices shout and yell. Two dogs bark along. Two doors slam. One car drives off. No birds sing in the trees. Silence trembles. And this is along the line of war in the Middle East. Eye on the sky. The sky no longer delights the eye with changes, all the passing clouds, catching or hiding the light, all the colors of the day. Now a bolt of light may bring a different storm, a shower of rock, an explosion of bodies, legs, arms, faces, falling. When you cry the dust out of your eyes, you see only the broken. Rubble where houses once stood, the living trying to find their families, gathering up the pieces that no longer fit to bury them by sunset. You look up at the sky, but see only blood.
You got another?
No, that was just two.
Oh, that was two? Oh, okay.
Yep.
Oh, I spaced out. All right. Our next reader is the other Gary. Gary Grossman.
I've recently become a grandfather, so one of my poems is a granddad poem, but I'll start with my other poem, which is maybe obtuse. We'll see. It's called Heteronyms. Wind or wind, one object, one action, both Middle English. As I run, a gust raps against my chest, bar bully hoping to mix me in his highball glass of hollow years. My eyes now tearing at the air's force, irregularity, as I'm wound round by a harsh transparency. Soil scraps strike my face, hands rising to guard lowered eyelids, while dirt crumbs continue to swirl and assault, hindrances raised by the melding of hot and chilled air, spinning off funnels on a June afternoon. And here's my granddad poem. This is entitled Actually, it's supposed to be Portrait as Grandson. When Rose excavates my picture from the shards of the decomposing powder blue baby book, I finally see my resemblance. Eyes, nose, and mouth are yours, she says. Ears are from hubby, as is baby Nolan's cafe au lait skin and black hair. Our pelage runs towards chestnut, dark auburn. Arriving a month early, impatience another trait we share, I've learned to decode his sonic semaphores. The tired muse, the reflux wail, the fish mouth swish sliding back and forth against my chest, insisting, bottle now, damn it. Then I watch his lips latch tighter than a vampire squid. Today's equinox brings his first spring. He is 4 months old, and the Yoshino cherries have just discarded their blossoms. The pavement now fuchsia and ivory. Thank you.
Our next reader is Leslayann.
Okay. Okay. This first one, I apologize, I haven't read this for a while, was in Poets Online earlier this year. Sestina for Eventide in the Nevada Desert. Wilderness time, only the length of shadows time my day. In the heat of the desert, I wait for cobalt when the earth turns around just enough so the last golden rays are lost. True blue sky sets the stage for the star of the evening, that glorious harvest moon. Saturn appears first. On the next breath, the moon floats up, an orange globe that pulls in shadows of range over basin and dims the stars to faint swirling sparkles over vast desert. My mind spins in the gloaming, lost in the reverie of year after year around the sun, the year that turned my life around. See, I was never the planet, but always a moon held in another's gravitational pull until the loss of my soulmate shattered my heart and cast shadows of doubt. Why should I keep living when joy deserted me in my final chapter? All was lost, even the stars. I looked for him, my soulmate. He must be in the stars. Peace settles after twilight and the sapphire glow all around. I learned to live in that stillness, hold in the fresh desert air as it cools, and let the ethereal blue heal me. Tonight's moon, now bright above, wakes me back to the present. Dark turquoise shadows close in on the liminality between worlds of joy and loss. Ancient petroglyphs carved on rocks, human figures like lost souls, frozen in time with arms raised to the stars. Souls like me sought comfort in the blue shadow enveloping their world, my world, all around. Bighorn sheep glow golden under October's moon, running on stone for millennia through desert sage. Darkness descends gently. The desert roses close. This evening, like all evenings here, is not lost but embraced, because in most of this crazy moonstruck world, there is no blue hour, no stars, because people are too busy rushing around collecting treasures for show in their boxed shadows. Life glows under the desert night sky. Blue darkens, stars glitter. I get lost in my thoughts on the rocks around a full moon, making playful art with my shadow. And then it's a shorter one from a recent.
Oh, I thought that was two. Was that one?
Oh, that was one. I know it was a long one. It was a Sistina.
All right, a short one, please.
Okay, sure. It's from a recent book, more poemographs. For peace, Tulip Woman. First springtime tulips bring in joy and love, so warm and comforting and sun above. The yellow petals glow soft candlelight when cool blue skies become a moonlit night. And when the morning comes again, a man and woman sit together holding hands among the tulips, every shade of pink, the color of enduring love. Her eyes blink. Her mate is gone, a faded memory. She gazes peacefully in reverie. A gentle breeze recalls the day he bought her bright pink flowers, when she always thought they'd be together forever, immersed in tulips. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next reader is Jon.
Hi, Robbi, and hi, everyone. It is an honor, Dick and Erica, to listen to both of you. I know your wife, Dick, because she was visiting my wife, Elia Braden, out on the West Coast, and she gets my weekly Sunday piece. Maybe she shares some of those with you. I just have one poem to read. It's called The Day After the World Ended. The day after the world ended, Eddie drove his baby blue 57 Chevy to the edge of a cliff and sat there under an oak tree where long ago lovers had carved their names. Elsewhere, mice were gnawing on a piece of rope, which had a delicious, now old-fashioned, almost saintly taste. Nice, fat mice at that, with red gums. The world had always half wanted to end, knew it would, or half knew it. We all did. Everyone did. And the fact the mice were all wearing boxer shorts with drawstrings was a lovely touch at the end of the world, the very end. Eddie had a box of donuts wide open on the front seat, and the doughy, sugary taste went down in wads, glazed donuts. It was night. Stars hung in the sky, suspended from absolutely nothing. It was funny to think there would be no more colored TV, no more hee-hawing donkeys, no more Fifth Century. Well, of course, no more Fifth Century. It had come and gone ages ago, but now not even a trace of it. No more spatulas. God damn, the rope tasted good. Or not good exactly. Mice don't think in words. More like the taste of a garage sale at the heart of a synagogue on the floor of an ocean. The world didn't mind ending. Not in the least. The silence was pretty, actually, in a cold sort of way. You wonder, of course, how there could still be a guy named Eddie, or mice wearing silk red, white, and blue boxer shorts while chewing on a smelly old rope, and don't such ropes always remind you of pirates? The nothing was thick now, sumptuous, pregnant even. Where had they all gone? The woodwind instruments, the mallard ducks, hope, courage, and that time you threw up next to the cotton candy machine at the carnival. There was no need for Eddie to drive off the cliff. There was no cliff, no tree, no Eddie, no mice, no rope, no donuts, no world needing saving anymore even. Just the quiet, the nothing, and maybe God, a teensy-weensy God wanting nothing, nothing in return. I teach a class called the Abracadabra Writing Class. If anybody's interested, I'll put the note on it in the chat here if you want. It is an honor being with all of you, and my heart sings. I get so happy I want to cry. I've heard so many good lines. I could do cartwheels. So no matter what happens for the rest of the day, you have fed me. brilliant candy corn, hands full. So thank you, Robbi. And thank you, Robbi, for doing your brilliant work. It's so good. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for coming, John. You're always welcome. Our next reader is Ed Ruzicka.
Hi, people. I'm proud to have my fifth book out, and The Invention of Reading is the title, and so I'm going to read that title poem. Just a second. Okay, here we go. Looked long at the scarred bellies of sharks as their granite torsos drag over empty parking lots. Gray fins sweep down into treetops, twist branches above neighbors who walk schnauzers, beagles, shepherds, because they have no work to go to. Sharks nose down, press noses on hospital windows while archangels lean against respirators. Swords slung off their hips, archangels yawn, bored as camp soldiers awaiting orders. The unseasoned nurses, the wrinkled ones, cry, pray, curse, implore the Lord, implore whatever. They cannot hug, cannot touch, must maintain a 6-foot distance. Before they walk out of any room, they strip off pastel-colored gowns and gloves. This is where dark angels swim under doorways, pour down from heater vents to nibble in the mucked-up backwaters of lungs. Dark angels, shut out the lights since time. Immemorial plagues, predators, malevolent storms have torn at us. There was a day when Yahweh's heart was turned to pity. He rose. He padded back to tinker in his workroom in the stars. In a season like this season, he invented the cleansing release of dreaming. And I'll do one more. When it is hot, our street, the backyard, everything shot dead. I have driven to the bank of a river. I don't want to see anyone, not even myself. I am tired of all of the bickering in me, those dozen-plus little voices that chatter, that try to set up their small table with chairs in my head, nagging reflections, suggest they know everything. It's worse than a house full of ants. That's the thing. I've seen enough to be tired of what everyone says is important. I want it all at arm's length, to stand just off the cuff of tedium while wind exhales into river willow. To stand within wind's ceaseless knitting of the landscape, as hidden in a deep den of green, one bird chooses when to sing the sun and when not. Thank you all very much. It's a real treat to be here.
Thank you, Ed. That was wonderful. Our next reader is Clif.
Hi, friends. I echo what everyone else has said about this wonderful time we're sharing in these amazing poems. And so it's been just so joyous to hear these beautiful lines. My heart is lifted too. So this first poem is a very short one. It's called Walking After Tonight's Showers. I feel the silent desires of clouds. I've always known the words written in the book of my body were as much river as stars, night breezes as hickory boughs. What is this music I breathe in with lilac and iris? I am these songs shivering like water on lady's mantle, burning like glowworms seeking mates. I am bridal veil and moonlight, night jars and rain. I am clouds and the changing songs of clouds. And this next one is a poem about Sylvia Plath, but it doesn't take the usual approach that you see in so many poems. I tried to find a different angle in, and I found it in a diary supplement she wrote when she was 17. The date is 11/13/1949, and the epigraph I've taken from that is, I think, to be omniscient. So the poem is called What Sylvia Heard. Sitting years later in her apartment kitchen before the mint green Hermes 3000 typewriter at the little glass top table she'd bought at Selfridge's, she heard glaciers melting and fissuring and orcas breaching in the Pacific. She heard ravens alighting in yew trees in France 800 years before. She heard asteroids striking the dark side of the moon and asterisks being printed in books in cities half a continent away. She heard ships set sail from harbors in India and Cameroon. She heard lovers wrecking the sheets in Quito and Cairo. She heard the sizzle of bee wings in a Polish meadow. She heard her children's thoughts before they formed and spoke them. She heard the last sighing breaths of thousands in hospitals, in beds at home, crumpled in elevators or on desks in offices, in frozen alleyways. She heard night's black witch moth alight on snowbush plants in northern Florida. She heard black swans gliding in cold water on a New Zealand lake. She heard great horned owls descend black waterfalls plunging through the moon-charmed hours of a forest in eastern Nebraska. She heard a river of submerged railroad cars. After midnight, she heard math equations as speech in origami form. She heard night take day's Polaroids and remake them, remarkable change in black ink. She heard death's bright-lit 100-story Ferris wheel of pain as it spun without pause through wind-battered, wind-tattered, and scattered clouds. She wondered how to inhabit eerie and always those soundscapes, how to dwell far inside that word engendering splendor. Thank you, friends.
Thank you, Cliff. That was wonderful. Our last regular reader on the open mic is Barbara.
Hello, friends. Thank you to Erica and Dick. Wonderful poems. You know, I see some familiar faces and new faces, and I'm happy to be here, coming to you from Akron, Ohio. I'm going to read two poems from my newest chapbook, Mapping the Borderlands, which is a book of Haibun and Tonka prose. The first one, called Chimera, was inspired by an experience that I had in Nova Scotia. I was swimming by myself in this little cove off of the Bay of Fundy. No one else around, and this black thing appears from the water. So that's the background. Chimera. Trick of the light, I think, when the seal's head crests in the water of this small cove where I'm swimming. A distance of 10 strokes, less. We keep that distance a long minute. Me treading water, riveted. The seal dips, rises, turns a dark eye toward me. Curious, but not enough to come closer. On impulse, I swim out to where he last dove. Just sunlight there, spangling the water. Sand mandala, the journey inward until the wind. And the second one is, it's a haibun, but it's also a cento. and it's sourced from the 8 poems in Louise Gluck's Wild Iris, and they're all titled Matin, which is a morning prayer. Letting the kneeler down. Forgive me the absence of all feeling, my heart a pink spike. I am a disposable animal, an exile from heaven, a bitter thing. You must see I am attached to earth's delights, dark red petals, sap frothing and rising. Distant Father, are you stirred also? I see beauty on either side of heaven. Here, a yellow bird, there, pleated wings, white fire. Unreachable Father, could you possibly exist? Lies have passed between us like tiny aphids on the trailing rose, and silence. If I say I love you, will you lift the weight of solitude? I speak to you on my knees, my hands an empty clump of longing. After evening rain, dark birds fold their wings. Thank you.
Our next to last reader is Jen Lewis.
I am here. 2 fairly short poems. The first is titled H, just the letter H. And it's just a lighthearted imposter syndrome poem. Hippopotamus, hypothalamus, hypocrite, bigger than life and twice as ugly. My goodness, buried deep in the center of my thoughts. The person you see is layers of whitewash, happy to be noticed, afraid to be found out. Just who the H am I? The second one, I'm so glad Dick brought up the Mishra. I have a work that's been in progress for some time called Before the Garden, Beyond the Grave, and it absolutely takes from the Bible those characters who are not explained and frequently unnamed. And this poem is called Just Call Me Mrs. Under the hot sun, still no rain in sight, Mrs. Ham, Mrs. Shem, and Mrs. Japheth, so named because what else do you call married women who are historically all incogniti, neglecti, innominati, are shelling beans, swapping stories, laughing as they try to outdo each tale with something bigger and better, and as the whoppers get out of hand, cracking up so hard they knock over a pot of seeds and have to scramble to rescue them. Do they care? No, not at all, because they know the why of what they are doing, and it doesn't matter what future readers might think or wonder. They know each other, know their shared covenant of obedience. When the promised/threatened flood comes and covers this very spot where they in perfect faith are doing all that is asked of them, they will be ready. Shem's wife says, let them call me Mrs. God knows who I am. And that is all that really matters, Mrs. Shem, indeed.
Thanks. I'm going to finish up with 2 poems. One of them, oh, were you supposed to read one more? Am I getting lost again?
You are lost, I did too.
Okay. Okay, so that's fine. Unless you were going to read 3. Should I finish up? Okay.
Please do.
All right. I'll start with a grandmother poem. since there are a lot of those going around today. This one's going to be in one art sometime. At my grandmother's table. In my childhood, my grandmother loomed large, deep mystery I could never hope to plumb. She wouldn't answer questions about the people in old photographs, never said she loved me or baked me cookies when she visited. But once she ladled out a giant helping of matzo ball soup in a china bowl, landscape of blue and white, golden lake suspended between painted hills. I ate as much from curiosity as hunger as I studied my grandmother and she studied me, learned to let the silence speak, to unearth what mysteries I could, or like my grandmother, to fashion stories that might fill the gaps. Actually, that one was in Kalul. The next poem will be in One Art, which is not a grandmother poem. My mother refused to cook with garlic, preferred her food sedate, polite. She made the same meals every week with takeout on the weekends. Monday, hot roast and mashed potatoes. Tuesday, salmon cakes and corn. Wednesday, roast chicken and potatoes. Thursday, spaghetti. Friday, fish and chips. She seldom tried new dishes, lest some foreign taste slip in, some suspect new ingredient. When the scent of neighbors' dinner penetrated our thin walls, reminding everyone of where we came from, the past we tried to hide, she wrinkled up her nose. That smell exposed deep roots in Russian shtetls, raw onion sandwiches on thick black bread, like the ones my paternal grandmother used to snack on. Far enough away in time, I taste only with my tongue and not my memory. It's complicated taste that I prefer. Garlic's sweet aroma when I roast the bowl, squeeze it over crusty bread, just baked, inhale the scent of asafoetida, cumin, fenugreek, and dream of other places. Thank you to all of you for being here. Thanks to our features for their wonderful poems and for the folks on the open mic for same and for your presence and listening ears. And I hope you'll return for another month or two. Thanks
Here's
so much.
to poetry and poetry reading curators and grandmas
And grandpas.
and grandpas.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.